What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today I'm coming at you live from New York City to talk about Amazon and Google. If you can give me a thumbs up if you're live, just so I can make sure that our audio is good, that would be awesome. But yeah, just wanted to. Plans are great. Whoops, sorry about that. Playing my own video, but I wanted to do a quick recap of the video I just put out. Amazon is hiring about 200,000 people. And it's just, kind of exploding in business right now. As I'm recording this, the stock is at like 2,200 a share, basically hitting all-time highs, well over $1 trillion market cap. So I kind of wanted to take a moment, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about how Amazon is becoming more and more of an essential business. In times like this, I put Amazon and Google in the title, but also Walmart is another company that I think we've seen emerge as just be extremely important in this time of crisis. And I think, Amazon is getting a huge structural lift as people are basically forced to buy things online. This is accelerating the whole movement towards e-commerce. This is what I just put out the video about. So I think that in itself is a huge trend. But then I was thinking more and more about, wow, we would be screwed if Amazon shut down. Like, this is structurally such an important company. And I only see them getting more and more structurally important. So when I talk about this, the fulfillment centers, this entire network of distribution that they have, the pipeline to get goods to people quickly all around the country. I think that's an extremely valuable system and asset. We didn't really appreciate the value of Amazon as an asset until this crisis hit. And that's why I kept thinking more and more of like, man, Amazon is almost too big to fail. When you talk about what they're doing with retail, when you talk about what they're doing with Whole Foods, how they're expanding into physical grocery just as much as online grocery, all these physical goods that are sold on Amazon. Then you think about what they're doing with AWS and how the entire internet's backbone runs on Amazon right now. Like, as much as we, like to kind of hate on Amazon, make fun of Jeff Bezos, talk about how they're not paying taxes, which I'm going to get to in a second. I also think this moment has been kind of a wake-up call for me personally of like, wow, Amazon is such an important piece of our economy. I'm so thankful we have them. Not that they are in trouble, and this whole theory of like too big to fail, if the company was failing, would the government bail them out? Amazon is not in any jeopardy of failing at all. The company is crushing it. So this isn't a scenario that's actually like close to happening, but I think it's interesting to play out. And the more and more I've been thinking about Amazon, this idea of the post office. So the U.S. post office has been hurting. They say they're going to run out of money. Are we going to privatize the post office? Is this something that, like, I would way rather have Amazon, for instance, operate the post office than I would want the U.S. government to operate the post office, just because I think they're way more efficient. Just the way the incentives are aligned within Amazon is way better. When you're talking about taxpayer dollars at work for, crucial services like delivering goods around an economy, you want the most efficient things so that our tax dollars we can get the most out of them. And then at a high level, it's like, who would you want if we were going to spend 10 billion to save the post office? Would you want to just give the post office 10 billion and have them keep doing what they're doing, or would you want to, give Amazon 10 billion to run the post office as this sort of pseudo public private system, but that's somehow still built within Amazon, so you have their structurals incentives aligned better? Like, I just think that was an interesting thought exercise of where I'm like, wow, like, should Amazon acquire the U.S. post office and just run it themselves? Like, and get support from the government? I actually think that would be a net huge benefit to consumers. And the more and more I thought about that, I'm like, wow, Amazon in many ways is starting to provide very essential services. Like, you think about what they're doing in healthcare, starting to expand into pharmacies. They bought that company PillPack, getting you your medicine simpler. The partnership that Jeff Bezos is doing with Warren Buffett and Jamie Dimon to come up with healthcare for the employees of those firms. JP Morgan, Berkshire Hathaway, and Amazon, and then eventually, using that to launch some sort of a digital healthcare marketplace. That's another service that, all around the world, governments provide healthcare to their citizens. We're seeing it in the US here, private companies do it, and I think maybe they could do it much better. So I don't know, this is kind of an idea I've been thinking about more and more. I don't know if I'm making sense or just rambling here, but another company I thought that was extremely important is Google. Like, imagine not being able to search anything. Imagine not having Gmail. Imagine not having YouTube. Imagine not having Google Maps. I mean, the amount of essential services that we just take for granted that have become totally ingrained in society today from these big tech companies is almost, it's hard to wrap your head around. And I think these are as structurally important firms as any in the global economy. And as much as I think they're like too big to fail, it's also interesting to think about the flip side of that, which is these have basically become utilities. And I just think that's structurally extremely important assets in the economy. And I think, people are appreciating that value. And that's why Amazon, initially, everyone freaked out, but now the stock is rising to new highs because people are sort of, appreciating that value that that asset and that infrastructure they've been building for decades actually has, as much as we all like to talk about like Uber and Lyft and all these apps that get created overnight. But those are just software layers. It's funny how this crisis is sort of, kind of sobering us back to the fact that like, wow, like physical warehouses and just distribution does really have value, these IRL businesses, so to speak. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that. Otherwise, I can start taking questions from you. I think the entire concept of too big to fail is very interesting because it's like, okay, so a company is run too poorly to be able to navigate some sort of economic downturn. Therefore, the government decides that it would be too much pain to let them go bankrupt. There'd be too much fallout from that. So we're going to leverage our capital to bail them out. Typically, that means basically the taxpayers are paying for it. But then it's this weird ironic twist of why are we paying for businesses' mistakes? I just think it's a really interesting concept that we've gotten to in society, and I don't see it going away. I see it as a problem that's just persisting more and more. Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. Amazon's taking the place of the post office. Google's taking the place of the library, sort of this keeper of knowledge, this way to democratize access to knowledge. I think in many ways is like as much of an important, I almost think that should be like a fundamental right in the digital economy. Any more questions? I'm seeing a lot of questions on different stocks, but on Amazon or Google. Yeah, and then that's when I think about Tesla as well as another extremely structurally important asset. I mean, they actually build the cars themselves. This is so rare in today's auto industry for the US automakers, but the fact that Tesla build its own cars in the US, I think strategically makes this an extremely exciting and important asset. Alibaba versus Amazon. I mean, those are very interesting because Alibaba is a private company, but I feel like they are sort of related to the Chinese government in some way, and they sort of have a monopoly on that sort of economy. So if you're bullish on that and the CCP, then I think Alibaba seems like a very strong play on that. Amazon and Google wouldn't fail. That's the thing. Sorry, I'm trying to read your questions. Yeah, so the rally on the S&P has been interesting. I mean, I haven't personally, I've been surprised because I thought the market was going to fall more, but the data has been extremely encouraging from illness 19. Like I'm in New York, new hospitalizations per day seem to be going down or sort of stabilizing. It seems like we have, flattened the curve, so to speak. And so now it's about, I think that's why the market's going up because this uncertainty of how bad is this going to get? Are we going to fall into this spiral of chaos is kind of alleviated. And I think people are realizing that we're going to get through this. It's just about when, but there's more light at the end of the tunnel. And actually, yeah, this brings up a great point. What companies do I think Amazon and Google would acquire? Because this is, I think, an amazing time to be Apple, Amazon, Google. There's so many technology companies losing money that are going to have a hard time raising funding, that are building amazing products with amazing talent. I mean, one of the biggest bottlenecks for a tech company is to be able to get access to amazing engineers, coders. That's why they say a lot of the best companies are like built and formed during recessions because that's when you're able to hire the best talent for cheap. That's when they're thankful to have an opportunity. That's when they'll work much harder for what you're paying them. And then you have these big companies like Apple, Google, and Amazon who just have a war chest of billions of capital and can start scooping up these startups who for the past decade have had a super high valuation. They can now buy them for, a fraction of what they were valued at, pennies on the dollar. So I think if you're Apple, Google or Amazon, I'm actually kind of waiting to see a next wave of acquisitions from those companies because I just think, now is the time is right. We haven't seen any yet, but I think there's poised to be a big consolidation in tech before this is all said and done, just because the opportunities. And I bet a lot of these big companies have been waiting for something like this to spend all their money. Thoughts on Google buying Snap? That could happen. I don't know. I see possibility in that. Amazon buying Rivian, I actually think now makes a lot of sense. Rivian delayed their vehicle. They're burning absurd amounts of money. I'm sure Amazon could buy Rivian for about half the price that they would have, a few months ago before this crisis hit. And so, I don't know. I would love to see Amazon just go all in and acquire Rivian. Another one that I've been thinking about is like Macy's. Nordstrom, if they wanted to buy one of these, bigger brick and mortar chains that a lot of people have always rumored, sort of like a Whole Food-esque acquisition, now would definitely be the time. How much will Waymo's eventual flop hurt Google? I actually think Waymo's eventual flop will help Google because my opinion is Waymo is burning hundreds of millions of dollars every single year, and that's directly impacting Google's earnings. That's part of the reason they broke out the other bets side of the business so that we could separate the core earnings of Google from those losses of Waymo. So I actually think Google stock would go up a little bit if Waymo got killed because I think the market doesn't believe in Waymo and the market would be pumped that they're not burning those hundreds of millions. I'm personally very bearish on Waymo. I mean, I think, the fact that they raised outside capital says it all. Like, if there's so much upside in Waymo, if they're crushing it, if they're going to change the world, if they're going to be the self-driving robot taxi company that's worth $1 trillion, why is Google divesting? Why is Google, allowing Waymo to raise outside capital? I think that's a very interesting sign about where Google's confidence in the project. And then at the same time, you have Waymo like delaying every single deadline that they put out. And I've been saying the crutch of Waymo has been that they will need to hire hundreds of thousands of drivers. They're going to have a huge manual labor sort of friction on their business because they don't have customers like Tesla does, millions of customers driving around collecting data for them to train their neural net. Waymo is actually going to have to use brute force to get all this data to train their neural net. And so that's why I put out a video recently that said Waymo is failing, a little bit of a clickbait title. But the point is really true there, which is that Waymo, they're poised to hire potentially hundreds of millions worth, maybe even $1 billion worth of capital on this contracted temporary driving service to have drivers, either monitoring or driving their vehicles to train them, which is so interesting because now you're literally seeing the cost of like, okay, Waymo, like you still haven't delivered the technology, you're already spending hundreds of millions. If we want to keep training this neural net, we're going to have to go to the next round, pay thousands of people to drive around. That's going to be another incremental hundreds of millions of dollars of investment before any return or revenue is generated. So I think Waymo's, I don't know. I wouldn't be giving the green light to that project to say, let's hire all these drivers to Waymo. So once again, as this unfolds and evolves, we're really seeing that Tesla, has this really, in my opinion, is the only comprehensive strategy to tackle the autonomy problem because they have the closed loop vertical autonomy stack. They're building the cars, they have the sensors, they're collecting the data, all training it, all their software, not a hodgepodge of different suppliers like Waymo. And the other funny thing about Waymo, it's like, okay, so you're gonna get 1 million robo-taxis? Good luck getting a million electric cars. Nobody can even build like 20,000 electric cars a year besides Tesla. So, Jaguar, they're trying to buy the Jaguar I-Pace. They can't build it fast enough because LG Chem can't ramp battery production. I think there's a lot of interesting friction there. 2025, who has a bigger market cap, Tesla or Amazon? I love this question. I would personally say, Amazon probably because Amazon will be worth like 2.5, 3 trill by then, and maybe Tesla's worth $1 trill by 2025, but Amazon will probably worth 3 trill. I think that's there's a big misnomer and sort of thing. Everyone's like the $1 trillion tech company. Oh my God, it's gonna be the first $1 trillion tech company. But yet, it doesn't matter. I think they're all going to be $1 trillion tech companies. They are now Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, and it's not about $1 trillion. That's not the ceiling. Just because nobody goes past $1 trillion in the past doesn't mean we won't in the future. Companies are getting bigger. The economy is expanding. We have inflation. So I think we're just scratching the surface of, now we have a new $1 trillion market cap section of the economy, and it's a couple companies, and in 10 or 15 years, it'll be, 30, 50 companies that are worth $1 trillion, and the biggest companies in the economy worth 3 to 5 trillion. And I see Amazon, Apple, and Google all having, $5 trillion market caps in a couple decades, maybe if they continue or something, just framing it in that context. So I think we're at the start of the $1 trillion company march. Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's not really yeah, it is kind of an arbitrary number just because it sounds big, but at what market cap do I think Amazon's growth will slow down? I mean, that's sort of the magic of Amazon. And I actually put out a video maybe like 2 years ago charting the revenue growth of Google versus Amazon. And Google actually had much more rapid revenue growth or much bigger revenue than Amazon at one point. But Amazon, this is my theory of why, and this is sort of a fascinating economic case study of why actually Amazon and Jeff Bezos' method accrues more value for shareholders in the long run. I'm talking about no profits. This is a good segue into the taxes thing. for years and years to come. You could even say the whole thing is because of tax arb, but Amazon was able to grow revenue and compound revenue way faster than Google because they ran at break even or a slight loss. And Google instead sort of maximized profitability. And then if you see over the past 2 decades, Amazon now on the cusp of 300 billion in revenue, Google on the cusp of 150, almost 200 billion in revenue. So Amazon now probably about 50% bigger, and I think growing faster than Google. So that's been an interesting case study to see. And their market cap is also almost double Google, or probably about 50% bigger as well. So Amazon has surpassed Google in growth. And now the question is, does Amazon not pay taxes? This is something like, I don't want to get political with this. I'm just trying to analyze it my best. So Amazon, everyone hates on them for not paying taxes, but it's not really like they're not paying taxes. They're not doing anything illegal. They're just sort of doing the best accounting game they can. They have a bunch of losses from way back when, so they didn't have to pay taxes on their early profits. Then you have this whole thing of like, some businesses are profitable, but some are losing money. It's smarter for us than to show a profit and pay taxes to just invest in new projects if we have a lot of projects to invest in. This just makes financial sense. You could argue this is the fiduciary duty of any large tech company, would be to maximize, their capital, because their shareholders, that's their that's the hard-earned profits that the shareholders want them to maximize a return on. And so why would you pay more in taxes than you have to? I think this is, the problem is with the tax law, frankly, in my opinion. Once again, try not to get political, rather than Amazon. And, one of my kind of random theories about this, like, since nobody asked for my political opinion, would be like a revenue tax, actually, or some sort of consistent tax that every company pays no matter what. That's why I like the revenue tax. Just like every dollar in revenue that your business brings in, a couple percentage of that gets taxed somehow, so that there's no games and the tax system is much simpler. And I just think that Amazon is a symptom of a sort of broken tax system, frankly. And I don't really blame them for maximizing like their cash flow and capital. I don't know if that's a bad way to look at it, but that's just kind of my opinion on this whole like Amazon doesn't pay taxes thing. Got a super chat here. Gally, does Tesla start a logistics business with autonomous semis and Cybertrucks with trailers? Yes. Once you have, that's why I love, Hyperclips, what up? So once you're investing in a, Tesla is a technology company. That's the way I'm investing in. Like, it's not like this product, that product. I'm investing in like the technology. That's what gets me excited. The car can drive itself. Big piece of technology. If the car is electric, it can go super far. They can get that battery built and installed and working for really long, thousands of cycles for really cheap. These are technologies that they're going to work great for moving people around, and they're going to work great for moving stuff around. And so it's just a matter about, is it going to take 5 years for Tesla to build up enough semi-trucks and Cybertrucks and, get the autonomous software right, build up all these mega chargers to have a network of moving freight and logistic stuff around? It will take a while to get there, but are they developing the technology today? Is that why I think Tesla shares should trade at a premium? Because I think this technology in 5 to 7 years is being monetized as a autonomous freight network as well. Yes, totally. I've actually put out Moonshot Mondays about the autonomous freight network and why I believe Amazon should have been working with Tesla to buy semi-trucks. This is why I think Warren Buffett should have bought Tesla, because he has a huge trucking company called McLane that's going to get disrupted. The whole auto insurance market is on the cusp of being disrupted by Tesla as well. Warren Buffett's OG investment, Geico, stand to get disrupted from that as well. So I think this is one of the biggest, everyone's always like, Gal, you're overlooking the energy side of Tesla's business. Sure, I love energy. We're talking maybe $1 trillion energy company, car company, moving stuff around. But this whole like freight side of the business, I also think it's almost no love. And I personally almost forgot about the semi-truck until one of you commented recently on my video, and then you were like, wait, the semi-truck's coming out this year too. And I don't know if that's been affected because of the illness 19, but Tesla's supposed to have their semi-truck come out this year. And that's a game changer. We've seen like Walmart, FedEx, UPS, DHL, like all these huge players who operate thousands of fleets of semi-trucks, billions of dollars of trucking operations, have already placed pre-orders with the Tesla truck. I think the Tesla truck has the opportunity to be a game-changing product line. And what excites me about it is it's like a totally different category, moving stuff around, not people. And that's just another crazy ambitious growth initiative that Tesla's on the cusp of announcing here. We can also talk Tesla if you want. If you have any questions about that, please leave them. I'm not seeing any chats come in. I'll check my notes real quick. Why do I think Tesla stock has surged recently? I never like to look too much into, why a stock is going up or down. I think people always will pretend that they know why a stock went up or down. just, because they think they know. But I think it's very rare that you actually understand why. But, I think the long-term thesis of Tesla, people are getting it. They're realizing that they're more nimble in this crisis. The whole thesis was that Tesla's a flimsy run company. The second, the economy goes down, things are going to get really ugly for Tesla. They're going to go bankrupt. They can't make money. Their technology's not good. Well, now what are we seeing when the crisis actually hits? Who had to draw down 15 billion on their credit line? GM. Who also had to draw down 50 billion on their credit line? Ford. Who didn't have to draw down any additional credit? Tesla. So we're starting to see, like, financially, they're actually in way better shape than the legacy auto companies. They're growing. Their deliveries are up 40% when everyone else's are down 10 or 15%. They're gaining insane market share. And now, I think thanks to a lot of the Tesla Twitter community and YouTube community and Tesla bloggers, the word has gotten out that Tesla's battery technology and powertrains are years ahead of the competition. And I just think that, this is sinking in. Like, that 2% of the cars sold are electric, and that 98% of them need to be sold electric, that the skies in every single city around the world right now are cleaner than they've ever been. We've had once in a, just an unbelievable opportunity that nobody would have ever expected to run a crazy science experiment to show that if we didn't have gas cars on the road, look at the world we could live in. Look at how much cleaner cities would be. Look at how much cleaner the air would be to breathe. Look at the impacts that has on health. I don't know. I just think this is a moment where, new technologies get adopted faster in moments of crisis. And I think you're starting to see certainty that we will get out of this. It's not going to end the world. And the second we get out of this, every other EV maker has delayed plans. Tesla's on fire. They've never had more momentum. They're gaining so much market share. Their technology's in the bag. I mean, it's just literally about how fast they can build cars because they have such a big waiting list. And I just think this reality has finally set in to the market. And so that's what I see happening with Tesla. I don't think it's one thing here or there. I just think it's the culmination of the company succeeding, China continuing to, pump out milestone after milestone. And I'm bummed, if you've been following the channel, I have a little cash. I've been waiting for Tesla to crumble so I could buy more if things got worse, but I didn't. But, you live and you learn. And I haven't sold a single share of my Tesla stock, so I'm pretty happy. Do I think Blue Origin will overtake SpaceX? No way. I have a bunch of SpaceX content in the works. So, oh yeah, I can give you a teaser for the Third Row Munroe episode. So Third Row, shout out to that Third Row podcast. So we just did the podcast with Sandy Munroe and also had Elon on, and I would really recommend all of you checking that out if you're Tesla investors and you want to nerd out on the heat pump, the octovalve, Cybertruck, Elon, pace of innovation, the casting machine. I just think it was an awesome, all the rumors and speculation and articles we've been hearing about Model Y, they all sort of came together in this podcast, and it was just like a brain dump of Elon, hitting all the points that we wanted to hear. I think you're going to love it. And my biggest takeaway is Tesla moves fast. It sounds so dumb and so high level, but it reinforces my thesis, which is if Tesla's innovating fast, I think Tesla's in the lead in the race. If they're innovating faster, they will stay in the lead and expand their lead. Are they innovating on ways to build cars? Are they innovating on ways the battery goes in the cars? Are they innovating on the way the battery gets cooled so they can maximize range in cold weather? Yes. And the rapid pace of these implementation of these innovations. I'm not that close to other car companies, so I couldn't say how fast the heat pump iterations happen in, the Bolt and how disruptive those are. But from what I can tell, diving deep into Tesla, every weakness becomes a strength. They get the rate of improvement in their manufacturing process is so impressive to me that it gives me true confidence that they're going to be able to execute and take market share and stay in the lead. In little the paint shop, I think Viv posted about this on Twitter, and you're going to hear about it in the episode. The paint has been a struggle for Tesla for so long. A lot of people, initial quality reports in the Model 3, okay, you got your panel gaps, you got this, but chips in the paint, little bumps in the paint, I think have been a big complaint for a lot of people for a lot of times. And I know that Tesla bought Fremont factory that was, originally an old school factory. Maybe they couldn't design that paint shop from scratch. And, painting a car is a really difficult thing. You can't get anything to touch the car, just a speck of dust causes a dot. And so now Tesla in their Berlin factory is apparently working on this next generation paint shop which is going to like allow some flop to the car, basically give it a 3D popping angle, just amazing color, just wow component. You should Google like flop paint of a car if you want to check out what I'm talking about. But just that's an example of how Tesla went from, okay, crappy paint shop, worst paint job than the industry standard, to all of a sudden innovating and saying, how can we do better? How can we automate that process? How can we come out with a better product that's just going to pop, that's going to be better than any paint on any car before? And so all of a sudden in 2 years or 4 years or whatever, we have Tesla go from industry worst paint job to industry best paint job, to push it, to literally pushing the envelope on something that hasn't, where the envelope hasn't even been pushed for mainstream automotive manufacturing. That's happening in the paint shop. That's happening in the casting machine for the Model Y. 70 parts in the Model 3. Okay, well, let's just build one big casting machine for the Model Y. Has that ever really been done before? Because they're going to need some special type of aluminum. Oh, doesn't matter. We're going to innovate. We're going to do it. That's going to mean way less capex, way simpler production. There's another layer of improvement. How can we, do a better job on the heat pump so we don't lose range in the cold? Like, so much. If there's one question I didn't get to ask Elon on that interview in Sandy, that I would love to know in retrospect is, okay, so you innovated the heat pump on the Model Y. We got the Octaval. Okay, that's amazing. Why did you put so much engineering resources into it? Is it really just to boost the cold range of the Model Y? Is there some breakthrough here? Elon keeps touting how the PCB part, okay, printed circuit board HVAC system is so important. So, is there some sort of breakthrough with this HVAC technology in the Model Y and the Octavalve that could be used for other product lines? What are those other product lines? Tesla talks about their home HVAC system. But I think we're so far from like, okay, Tesla has a cool AC in its car that's super efficient, to like, oh, the AC system in homes needs to be reinvented. Like, this is such a big gap. And so I want to know, how do these little micro innovations we're seeing in the Super Model 3, Octavalve Model Y, how do these little innovations on a product level or R&D level carry into, this bigger HVAC vision, ventilation vision that Tesla has? Would be very curious to know about that. Google buying Waymo to help Rivian AI. I think you mean Google buying Rivian. I think that's genius. Google buying Rivian would be a very interesting move. I think Google should buy Lyft if they don't want to give up on Waymo. That would be it, because Lyft stock's crashing. Lyft needs money. Google could fund them. You get the network. If you do want to do Waymo and go all the way, I think they already have a partnership. My guess is that Google should buy Waymo if they want to go all in. I don't know if that would be a smart move in the long run, but I could see that being a very possible acquisition. That's like something I'm interested in. Mark Frohmeyer, CEO of Arcimoto, he's going to come on the channel. I believe they're reporting their earnings after the close today. So later this week, I think we have like a Friday call scheduled. So maybe this weekend I'll be releasing an interview with him about Arcimoto. Take a couple more questions here. What do I do on a day-to-day basis to learn information to make these videos? Basically just study. And actually a lot of what I do that people, I guess I wish you could see, but you can't see, is like talking to people. Like, I have a network of so many interesting people, YouTubers, my friends, just, investors. And I probably have like 5 phone calls a day for like hours where I'm just like, what do you think about Amazon? Did you see this company? What's up with this? And I just think like my network and learning from that has been super helpful. Otherwise, I just try and read. Tesla being underrated reminds me of AWS. Yeah. I think Tesla Energy is sort of like an AWS business where they have their core competency in batteries to build cars. And then they're like, wait, we're so good at batteries, we can just sell these batteries and do other stuff with them. And that's what they're doing with their sort of energy business and grid scale batteries in some way. So Missouri gave $1 billion commitment to try and get the Cybertruck Gigafactory to the U.S. Or to Missouri, I guess. Or some sort of tax break. They're just not going to do it. There has to be a lot. There's not enough like engineering talent, if that makes sense, and it's not quite geographically located well enough. So that's my take on that. So yeah. It would be cool to see in Missouri. I actually think Tesla already is going to set it up in Austin or Texas, no matter what, and they're just shopping it around to get a better deal and to make it look like kind of play hard to get. That's just my personal opinion, though. Anything else? When will Tesla announce a $25,000 compact car? I bet they will announce the plans to do a Model 2 or compact vehicle at Battery Investor Day. That's my guess. So, quick, bull case 2025. What's the bull case 2025? Tesla's selling like 3 million cars. They're doing like 100 billion in revenue, maybe like 5 billion in earnings, still growing 20-30%. Like, energy's taking off, autonomy's just hitting its stride. Stock price is, I don't know, high. Any idea for an octavalve handshake / move? Oh, whoops. No, I don't know what that means exactly. My thoughts on the self-driving race is that Tesla's winning, and they're actually the only company that's in the race to build a self-driving car, and it's gonna, I think the progress is very slow for Tesla. Like, it seems like it's constantly a much harder problem than Elon or the team anticipates to really get to level 5. Do I think Tesla is advantageously positioned cash flow wise for the EV segment as opposed to the cash flow of ICE manufacturers dedicated to EV development? Yes. So that sort of hits the nail on the head of why this is such a difficult transition for legacy automakers is you are sacrificing, all your cash comes from the internal combustion engine products, pretty much trucks, honestly, which is super lame. But so do you come out with an electric car that you're not making money on that you sell for no profit to eat into your most profitable sales, and you have to invest a bunch of money in the technology to build that new electric vehicle? Like, that just doesn't make sense. While Tesla doesn't have to do this tech shift, it's the innovator's dilemma. It's why, it's why the disrupted never comes back. Once you get disrupted, I feel like. Yeah, will they offer a cyber hatchback? That would be really cool. All right, I'm gonna tune off. I'm gonna take one more question and then sign off. But yeah, so Amazon, I'll end it on the same note. Like, this illness 19 crisis, I think we're gonna get out of it. But a very interesting case study on what is important in our new economy, how fast we're digitizing. Is Amazon, structurally almost too big to fail? I think we're relying on, they're so important. I'm so happy we have Amazon right now to deliver us all of our stuff, so I can go to Whole Foods, so I can use Zoom because I'm on AWS. I just think Amazon, as an asset that our world and economy and our society runs on, is so vital and important and not going away. It's almost a utility. And it's only going to become increasingly more of a utility. And in some ways that is scary, but in some ways that makes me happy because the incentives for Amazon to be most efficient with their capital, and to spend and to run an operation efficiently, to prioritize customer happiness, I think is way more structurally higher than the government's efficiency to do something. So that's when I talk about, should we privatize the post office with Amazon doing it? I think yes, because I think it would run better. And I think then taxpayers wouldn't have to lose money. And so I think there's a lot of very interesting questions that are now arising. And I see as Amazon gets deeper into food, as they open more physical stores, as they put more people out of business, as AWS gets more pervasive, where the digital economy happens, as they become an online pharmacy company, and that's how you get all your medicine. Eventually, that's how you get all your health insurance. Amazon is replacing a lot of government functions in the country and becoming more structurally important as they do so. So is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. That's just what is happening. And yeah, I think that hits the nail on the head of like the biggest thing of like why I think companies are the vehicles for change in the world, because governments are so inefficient and slow and they just can't get the job done. And in my lifetime, like, I don't have faith in governments providing a good service to me, like doing things digitally in the digital economy. It's just, it's kind of embarrassing, the state of the government. And so I don't know. I think it's interesting. And then Walmart, just as structurally important as Amazon, because those two companies are getting food and supplies to all of so many businesses right now. And yeah, it's interesting. So anyway, that's my rant on Amazon. I think we're living in crazy times. I'm going to be following the company's Q1 earnings because we're going to see, like, actually seeing the financial impact from different companies. Some companies going to look hideous. some like Zoom and Amazon is like profits out of nowhere. Lyft, it's going to be like a bloodbath. Like, I think there's so much, like, I just cannot wait. We are in the midst of one of the most interesting economic case studies ever to unfold in the world. So sci-fi. Okay, we're such a globalized economy. Everyone's taking a plane to every country every single day. Crazy virus breaks out. You can't detect it. People are spreading it with no symptoms. It happens all around the world. Millions of people get it. We shut down the economy overnight. Now we get to see what the financial reaction of the world's largest companies are to that scenario. I mean, it's like epic case study unfolding right now. So I'm pumped, and I think Amazon's a winner. I think the market realized it, and it's kind of a funny case study of like, okay, well, we all could have known that more people were going to order things online. We all saw that everyone's buying things on Amazon. We all knew that everything that ran on AWS was getting more usage, and yet AWS was crashing. Amazon stock was crashing with the market, and then 3 weeks later, everyone decides, wait, Amazon's winning. Let's just start having the stock outperform. And so seeing that flip in psychology is interesting as well. Anyway, this is Hyperchange. Hope you enjoyed my live stream. A little, what is it? Tuesday afternoon rambling for you, live from New York City. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Got a bunch more videos coming this week, so definitely subscribe if you haven't already. See y'all next time. Peace.